right. I think we are up and running here. Thank you so much for joining me and welcome. I'm Heather Hennessy from Heather Hennessy Life Coaching, and my coaching practice is devoted to helping working women who are expecting and new mothers. So, if you've been with me for the past couple of weeks, I have covered some of the basic concepts that really provide the foundation for my coaching practice. So, first of all, a couple weeks ago, we covered that new motherhood often feels terrible. um, and that's the case a lot of the time, that's perfectly normal, and that kind of situation where new motherhood feels terrible exists at the same time that it feels amazing, right? So there's this sort of inherent paradox about new motherhood. We expect the amazing part and we look forward to that while we're pregnant or when we're working on having a family. We don't expect the terrible part. So when we feel the wonderful and the terrible at the same time, we often think that something has just gone terribly wrong because we feel terrible some of the time. So that video from a couple weeks ago was really aimed at just normalizing that if you are a working woman who is a new mom and you feel terrible part of the time, that's totally normal. And then last week, I talked about our innate drive to feel better, right? So the terrible part that exists while you're adjusting to new motherhood, we want to get out of that feeling of terrible, right? We have this sort of series of factors that work in our favor to drive us forward, and that innate drive is also natural, and that it's especially strong during the adjustment to new motherhood. So now, continuing on our discussion from that place, I want to go a step further this week. If you are a working woman who is a new mother and you're in this phase of your life where you're making this adjustment to motherhood, it is actually possible for you to come out of this phase of your life feeling better than you ever have before. Your life can be better than it was before you became a mom. And that sounds pretty radical. Even to make a statement like that, I realize sounds kind of nuts, and it flies in the face of a lot of the conventional wisdom about motherhood. I talked about that also in the past few weeks, is that set of sort of societal assumptions and family assumptions, cultural assumptions, wherever they come from, and they are at work within us, within our minds, on a really subconscious level. Excuse me. So as we approach motherhood, if you quizzed us, if you asked us questions like, do you think your life is going to get better or worse or harder or easier? You know, we would, I think, right, if we were full of truth serum, we would answer those questions in a way that sort of trends to the negative. And why is that? There's just dozens and dozens and dozens of reasons. And a lot of my work with my clients is really sort of digging into those, picking them apart, and, having, a tremendous amount of awareness around them. So we take them out of the sort of subconscious or unconscious thinking and move them into our conscious thoughts, and then decide on purpose, what should be in our brains. But the fact of it is that to make a statement that you can feel better in the early part of your motherhood while you have a small child, than you did before you were pregnant, a lot of people are going to think that that sounds totally nuts. They might even be angry about that, right? Like if you're angry that I'm saying that because it's so different from your experience or the experience of your friends or family, like I understand and I empathize. Um but again, this is the focus of my coaching practice. Why is that the focus of my coaching practice? Because that is exactly my life experience. When I became a mom and sort of worked through a lot of my issues that had been issues for me for a long time, I came out the other side of that better off in every way, in absolutely every aspect of my life, better off. It did not start out that way. I have spoken about this as well several times, right? So you sort of have a baby, and then I felt like I sort of fell down into a hole. Like everything was harder. I was in what I now recognize as this period of profound change for which I was totally unprepared. So going through all that change, going through it all at once, and going through it really unprepared sort of put me down in, what I sort of have come to think of as a motherhood hole. And, more than that, um, I didn't understand how to get out of it, right? I didn't understand. I desperately wanted to feel better. I wanted to, be, I kind of had a picture in my head of what I wanted to be as a working mom and who I wanted to be and how I wanted to be able to, go forward as a mom and in my career. And the process that I went through was really just completely self guided. And, you know, luckily, I just kept working at it. And um, early months of being a mom really struggled, sort of bottomed out, I think, after about a year when my baby was about a year old, and then kind of began the process of climbing out of the hole, right? Like making improvements. And I don't mean to say improvements like I sort of became a better person somehow, right? Like that's not the way that I mean the word improvement. I just started working on my issues sort of one at a time, piece by piece, bit by bit. But the thing is, right, if I was here at this level and then I had a baby and I kind of fell down the hole, when I came out the other side, I just kept climbing. Like I didn't go back to a level set of where I had been before motherhood. I had this momentum behind me. I had new skills that I had learned, things that I had taught myself, new beliefs about myself and my capabilities that kept me on an upward trajectory that I never could have imagined. When I was, struggling so hard, I just wanted to get back to where I had been. I would have been, thrilled to just kind of get my life back to sort of what I had perceived to have been normal for me before the baby came. So this notion that I could come out of, my motherhood hole and keep climbing, I had no idea. Nobody had even told me that was possible. And now I realize that what I actually did was take the period of profound change that I had really interpreted as being, kind of falling into a hole and leveraging that period of profound change to, find a momentum that had never existed for me before motherhood came along. So again, my life improved in every possible way. I have um a better life now than I could have imagined. And sort of helping my clients understand that motherhood can be the same sort of fantastic jumping off point for them is um, is what I do in my coaching practice. Now, why didn't I know this was possible? I ask myself that question all the time. I ask myself that question not only for myself, but also for my clients, for the people who I help. Why don't we know that it's possible to improve our lives in every measurable way? Nobody had ever modeled this for me. I didn't have any peers or kind of acquaintances or people that I worked with who could really show me that this was possible. And all I knew was that there were some people who seemed to adjust to motherhood pretty quickly, right? So instead of kind of a deep hole, they sort of go through a blip and then level back off after they become moms. I knew that was possible, and I knew that that was not what was happening to me, that I was not sort of adjusting gracefully or quickly or having any kind of, easy transformation. Um, and I did not know at all that there were people who used motherhood as an opening point to find some leverage to make these kinds of dramatic life improvements. So I'd come to think of those people who kind of make the transition very easily. I've come to think of them as that they just have an inherent set of skills and beliefs that are different from the ones that I had. This is exactly the same kind of capability, I think, as people who pick up the piano very easily, or people who are really good at skiing, or people who, you know, are can read really fast, right? Like they have something inside them that's a bit of a natural talent that leads to, them kind of having an easy transition to motherhood and then coming out the other side pretty quickly. It's just that they got that hardwiring, and that's totally fine. The one of the most kind of damaging, I guess, beliefs that I had about myself when I was down in the hole was that I didn't have the capabilities to get out of it. Instead, what I now recognize and what I work with my clients on is that it's actually a skill set. It's not magic. It's not something that you're born with or not. It's an actual skill set. So everybody can figure this out, right? Everybody can learn this. And this is exactly what I do in my coaching practice is help people figure this out and help people learn it so that they can, have a easier transition into motherhood and then come out the other side, making whatever improvements in their lives that they want to. So, my sort of goal in the world is to get rid of the hole that working mothers fall into, just to get rid of it. There is a lot that goes into that. And some of these dynamics that are at work are for sure systematic and political. Absolutely the case. I am not discounting or ignoring the importance of that, but I focus with my clients on what they can fully control and what they can fully do as individual women, right? So for people who want to be working on changes to laws, changes to corporate policies, that is absolutely, time well spent. And there are fantastic organizations out there who are doing that work that people can choose to support. Absolutely. And be doing that work even within your own organizations and businesses. Absolutely, part of the package. But then there is individual work that we can all do right now prior to the changes to laws and, corporate policies and other things that we want to see in the future. We can do a lot right now to help ourselves on an individual basis. And I also think that that sort of, you know, kind of one client at a time, one mother at a time work leads up to, you know, fostering the generation of leaders who will make those changes happen and usher in the next wave of, you know, laws and political changes that are going to change the lives of all working mothers everywhere in the US specifically. That's where I live, and worldwide as well, for sure. But the focus on solely the political or institutional or corporate without the focus on what we do as individuals, we need both, right? It's really a matter of an and and approach rather than an either or approach. That's the work that I do with my clients. And the foundation of that work really is the recognition that we're just fully capable of being exactly the working professionals and mothers that we want to be simultaneously. And that can look pretty amazing. And that th- there's no arguing with that. It is a fact that that is available to you. If that's what you want, you can do that, period. And that there's a truth in there that we sort of need to unlock for ourselves and that we get to unlock for ourselves, and that doing that work is completely worth it. Um, so if you're looking at yourself currently and you have a notion of what you want to be doing as a working mom, but you're not doing it, and you're asking yourself the question, why am I not doing what I want to be doing? And you're in something that feels like a state of discomfort, right? That may or may not be sort of your version of of the whole. Then this is an excellent time for you to be asking yourself what the skill set might look like for you and how to go about getting it for yourself. There is a macro level skill set that gives us and you the ability to achieve whatever you want whenever you want to be doing it. So, you know, kind of examining your life as you become a mom and all the sort of baked in expectations that you might have, again, those sort of under the surface, subliminal, unconscious thoughts and expectations that you might have of yourself right now. Are those undercutting you? Are they serving you or not? And, you know, if those, sort of negative biases about motherhood, I say negative, right? Like the things that sort of make you think that one thing or another is not possible or not available to you, or that, motherhood has presented you with sort of a series of setbacks that you're now kind of working against. That's what I don't mean to sort of label things as negative or positive, but those kinds of thoughts I often find act as a drain on people. They certainly acted as a drain on me when I was going through new motherhood, and that's what I see so frequently on in my clients and on sort of people that I follow. And when we're letting those thoughts and expectations rule the day and we're sort of not paying attention to them, that's when they're just running amok with us and we're sort of at the mercy of them. So we start to pay attention to them, get some authority and awareness about them, and then start to, make whatever changes that we want to make. So is really important to recognize that no one else can do this for us. No one can do this work for you. Um, this is excellent news. It means that you're not waiting for somebody else to change or for somebody else to bring you a solution. You have the ability and the right to go about getting yourself exactly what you need right now. As a working woman who is a new mom, you get to decide what you need and go get it. This is the best news ever, quite frankly. So, society has sort of gotten us to this point. Um, and now we get to go take the next steps that we want, whatever those look like for you. I genuinely don't have any expectations about what that's supposed to look like. It gets to look like whatever you want. This freedom to change and grow is a gift that we are empowered to give ourselves right now. But in order to get the full benefit of this gift, you must first believe that it's possible for you to do it. And I am here to tell you that it is possible. I am here to tell you that it is possible for you to come out of your motherhood experience on an upward trajectory for which there is no limit. And I am living proof that that is possible. So if this resonates with you, if it sounds appealing to you, if it sounds like something that you want to be doing in your life right now, I urge you to reach out to me. You can find my contact information on my website. There's a form where you can submit some information. My one-on-one coaching practice is currently accepting new clients, and it would be my pleasure to be a part of your motherhood journey. Thanks so much for watching.